2, 1. Sports professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, keeping score in the boardroom. Diversity is the name of the game, and we're here at this primetime conference, the 10th annual, as we do every year. This is different. We have somebody whose head probably gets a little tired because he has 14 million hats that the guy wears. He's Pagula Sports Entertainment. He worked with the Jets, the Browns, a whole bunch of other teams, IMG, diverse experience, and now diverse and diverse. Bruce Popko, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
So we don't have enough time, but kind of go through your career from teams to IMG and then Pagula Sports.
Sure. It's really been almost primarily in football.
Yeah.
Grew up working for the New York Jets, went to the league office, which is in Manhattan, got recruited out of there to go to San Francisco, spent a few years there, then ended up migrating back to head east towards Cleveland. 12 years in Cleveland, split between the Cleveland Browns and then IMG, to your point. Working on the golf side of the business for 5 years, and then got the itch to try to get back into football, and went to the Bills, and have been there for starting my 10th season.
So before we talk about Pagula Sports a bit, because it's not just football,
sure.
It's lacrosse, it's minor league, it's everything. The IMG piece was primarily golf, and you're primarily a football guy. The skills that you need to master all of those jobs, are they more similar, or are they more different?
Very similar. I think ultimately you're still relating to the people, whether it's a sponsor that you're looking to get on board, whether it's managing an athlete and something that they're doing. I actually managed 2 players during my golf days there. Patrick Harrington I did domestically, and then Natalie Gulbis on the LPGA side. So 2 very different personalities.
And he was winning when you managed him.
Yeah, Patrick had won the British Open at that point.
Did you have any input in
No, I was really his domestic stuff, so kind of helping out here and there and with some deals and things like that. Natalie was much more kind of really direct input, helping her out. She was at a point in her career where she had been injured a little bit, so she was trying to get back to kind of the stability of being on tour and playing a normal tour schedule. She was, and still is, one of the most personable. I mean, someone that really you could send out into any situation, and you knew would be, it would be, just fireworks, and everybody would be excited about her presence. Still stay in touch with her today, so I mean, she's a great person. So.
But golf, women's, men's, lacrosse now, minor leagues in all contexts. But then Pagula Sports was really giving you an opportunity to cover the waterfront.
Yeah, for sure. It's as I always say, sort of deal making is deal making.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you're doing it in either a sponsorship and advertising realm, we're doing commercial real estate development now in kind of the near proximity to the arena. We're doing, lease fronting kind of the conversation even in Rochester with our minor league hockey affiliate, the Rochester Americans. So yeah, sort of doing deals is sort of doing deals. You begin to draw in expertise for things that you don't have sort of maybe core competency against, but ultimately being able to strike the deals is the most, inspiring part of what we do every day.
Let's talk about the Bills and the NFL first. New stadium, process, what's going on?
We're at this sort of inflection point where we've got, after the season, we'll have 5 years left on the current lease, for now what is a 43-year-old building. Yeah. Bones are still good. We put, a bunch of money into it 3 years ago now, so it's doing well. What the long-term viability just physically of the building is the next thing that we have to study. I think there's a lot of talk about, building a new building would be great, developing kind of this enormous downtown entertainment district maybe around the arena where the Sabres play would be wonderful. It's a long process. I mean, if we sort of reflect on Atlanta, and Atlanta had their land already basically right next to the Georgia Dome, and that was still 10 years. So even if we kind of tell Terry and Kim Pagula, our owners, even if we start today, we're probably 8 years in a minimum, because we probably wouldn't go as grand as Mercedes-Benz, and what they did in Atlanta. But I will tell you, it's a very long journey. We don't have those answers yet. There's so many twists and turns, and really, the economic equation to take on that much debt in a market of our size is difficult than doing it in a top 20 market in the United States.
But Western New York loves the Bills, and the public-private partnership opportunities are still there.
For sure, and I will tell you, it's been a really strong partnership that we've had with both the county and the state of New York, Erie County and the state of New York. That will continue. The leadership there has been great. This will now become really kind of big stakes poker, though. I mean, this is really now, you're talking about what will probably end up being hundreds of millions of dollars deployed somewhere, either in the existing stadium for the next round of kind of super renovation, or trying to figure out if the new building makes more sense for us.
You realize some of the deals that have been done, and they're all over the map, but Steve Ross went into the super renovation, and now he looks back after $500 million, and his bones are fine, but it's an entirely new facility.
It is. It's an entirely new facility, and I think that much like his orientation, really supplementing and creating the best fan experience that he could possibly do is at the forefront, I know, of a lot of their thinking, because it was, to your point, it was good bones, but the fan experience elements of it were probably substandard, and I think he's changed that very dramatically. And to your point, you said you'd gone to a bunch of games. Just the vibe there is different than it was 5 years ago.
It's not. It's no longer just an open air stadium.
Right.
It's not an open air stadium.
Right. Yeah.
Retractable opportunity there.
I think that at least what Terry Pagula, our owner, has said is he likes open air. He likes the inherent advantage that we have of being open air. If I was to speculate, and it's really kind of more a little bit of my own speculation and just listening closely enough to him, I would think we'd probably do something more like Seattle, where you'd have a roof that would cover a good portion of the stands but still be open air, and kind of go with that sort of model.
Where's Toronto fit in the regional equation of all this?
Hugely important. You can't ignore 6-7 million people that are up here. Really that Southern Ontario side of us and that draw that we get from kind of Hamilton on down becomes a vital part of. They're a little bit less relevant in terms of season tickets, but they're very relevant in terms of individual games. Like they really participate in game by game, kind of decide how they're going to interact, but it's a pretty big portion of our fan base.
Why are the cynics being listened to so much for the NFL now, business-wise? The ratings, the injuries on Thursday night. There's the same arguments, but people seem to be listening.
I think that when you're on top, the arrows kind of come with a little bit more frequency ultimately. The funny part is you never hear the ratings decline conversation ever done in a comparative sense. It's always done in absolute terms of just us, but you never put it against where is primetime falling? Where are other sports falling? And you sort of say it's also off of a much bigger base. So ultimately, to have that kind of drop off of that big a base, you sit and I'm always most concerned with what are the TV executives themselves saying.
Yeah.
And when they tell you that live sports entertainment programming is still kind of the panacea that fixes all, or at least kind of the North Star that they can rely on, you're in good shape.
How much do you care about what advertisers are telling you? So some of the media will take the outlying advertiser and point to some returns, like Papa John's, and say, hey, the NFL's not performing for me.
Yeah, and I think for them, they had a very specific orientation to the underperformance or lack of performance, which was around some player behavior, some player activity stuff.
Right.
I think, candidly, they're probably an outlier. We deal in the television advertising arena every day for both the big teams, because for the hockey team as well, we produce all our games. We sell all the advertising against that on MSG. And I will tell you, we don't really get complaints like that. Now, we also are in a region where our ratings really hold very well, regardless of we haven't really performed on the field to the degree we would like to. Yeah. But I think it's a lot of chatter when it really comes down to it.
And fan avidity, obviously, very important. And by the way, to the ones that are listening, the pepperoni pizza killed that a little bit. The ones with there's a lot of grapefruit, there's a lot of pineapple. That stuff's really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So
even the little chicken wing pizzas.
The chicken wing pizzas are,
can't go wrong with that.
And it's supposed to
be
healthy.
partial to buffalo.
Right, exactly. But it's hard to eat the pizza without the bread. But that's another entirely different story.
Right.
So, all right. So on-field, on-ice performance. Let's shift to the Sabres for a second. You have a magnificent development plan for downtown Buffalo. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we are in a 21-year-old building in Key Bank Center, so we are sort of ripe for that next level of renovation. Same idea, really enhancing fan experience, really taking advantage of some of the parts of the real estate itself and the footprint to make sure we put enough programming in there that the fans want to be there early and stay late. I mean, it's as simple as that. We've built Harbor Center right next to it, which is 2 sheets of ice, largely oriented towards the amateur side of the game.
Yeah.
We've got the World Juniors coming in the end of the year now, and now all of a sudden we're beginning to sort of shift our focus or add to our focus some other commercial development. So really kind of beginning to extend the perimeter, create more of an entertainment district. We just bought an 80,000 square foot facility literally directly across the street from the arena, redeveloping that into a restaurant and a brewery. Labatt is relocating their headquarters there, their corporate headquarters there. So exciting times as we kind of are sort of right in the middle of a lot of developments going on in the city of Buffalo.
And my buddy Nick Shakevich would kill me if I didn't ask about lacrosse.
Yeah,
So
sure.
what's your thought about that?
Love it. I actually played field lacrosse in college, so I was a bad player on a really good team, as I tell everybody. So I have a huge affinity for the sport. My boys play it. My daughter played it as well when she was in high school. So Nick and I had lunch yesterday. We're talking about kind of the future of the league. We're very, very bullish on it. Love where the Bandits sit in relation to the teams that are in the league. We look at ourselves as, we're kind of the old guard to some degree, 26 years in existence now. We lead the league in attendance, or we fight it out with Saskatchewan kind of now year in and year out with all the success that they've had. So I think the future is incredibly bright for that league, and I think Nick and kind of the captain's chair is going to be really great for us.
Pagula Sports, give me a sense of how the Pagulas feel about their investments, probably more so in Western New York. They're custodians of a very significant economic development engine.
Yeah, no, and I will tell you, they take that custodial responsibility incredibly seriously. And the great part about what they are trying to do, every project and every piece of sort of growth that we look at is really about creating jobs. And I think it's sort of not to be understated in this day and age is, Terry and Kim don't do it for vanity. They don't do it for accolade. They hate getting awards. They do it because they know that they can be a growth engine in our community, and they take that job very seriously.
And they've come to be recognized in the pantheon of fantastic community owners like the Crafts in New England and otherwise.
Sure, exactly. I mean, you look at Patriot Place, and while that was, certainly pioneering when it came on, took them a little while to kind of get the momentum, but you look at just what it is right now, what it represents. We're in a little different situation in terms of where we are geographically, but then you look at, we have the same kind of footprint surrounding New Era Field right now. It's not out of the realm of possibility that if we decide to stay in that stadium, that's the next wave of development that might accompany it.
And they put together great full service. They have an analytics component and otherwise that are first rate.
They do. I mean, you look at kind of across the board, and as much as we compete with them on the field, we can't stand the run of success that they've had. You have to admire everything that they've done and the diversity of their portfolio.
Yeah.
They're just like us. They've got, teams in multiple leagues that they manage and a lot of other business units, and it's become kind of what you have to do to gain, I think, the utmost relevance and really take advantage of the economies that you afford yourself. We have centralized a lot of our, marketing, business development, finance across all these teams and all these entities, and there's great economies that are afforded us.
Speaking of economies and diversity, so do you wake up someday and say, which sport am I going to deal with today? How do you allocate your time?
Yeah, you do a little bit, yeah, and you have to really make a conscious effort to be relevant sort of wherever you're going.
Yeah.
So you have to make a point of, I'm driving down to the stadium today, I'm going to go kind of walk the halls a little bit, I'm going to go to the arena today, be around the Sabres and the Bandits, I'm going to go to Rochester today. That's probably the biggest thing, is just learning now in this sort of newer position for me, that discipline of don't forget about anybody.
Do you have a routine, so it's Monday, Wednesday?
I don't. I will tell you, it really is a little bit more as kind of catch as catch can,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's, you put the fireman hat on and you might be putting out fires a little bit, and then in the midst of it, you sort of fill out and say, kind of, what haven't I done this week, or what haven't I paid attention to this week?
What have you given up because you're running 48 franchises now? You look like a golfer because you're pretty low to the ground. So what are you doing? Well, you can't play golf in Buffalo anyway for 9 months out of the year.
Like everything, life's about balance. I think that, unfortunately, we're sort of attached to our phones and that sort of thing. But I really haven't given up much. It's really just a matter of orientation, and a huge part of it has been delegation. A lot of the things that I used to feel like I had to be strictly involved in or see on the way out or whatever it was, you have to, we've trusted the management team we've put together. They're a very talented group of individuals. You got to go let them do their jobs.
So finally, where is Bruce Popko and where is Pagula Sports 5 years from now?
5 years from now, Tom is retired, hopefully, and not playing for the Patriots anymore.
There's a direct message.
Jack has maybe Eichel's got it, maybe his second ring on at that point. It's all trending in the right direction. I think that you sort of see where these franchises are going. You see where Buffalo is going as a city. When I got there, there were never cranes in the air. There were a lot of, closed up buildings, and it just, the orientation of the city and the city getting beyond kind of feeling sorry for itself or having to make excuses for itself has really changed, and I just see that it's going to sort of catapult, I think, from here.
Testimonial about sports and economic development.
Without a doubt. I mean, we're part of it. There's a huge medical community there. There's a lot of other things that are driving it, and we're we're really happy to be hitting it at kind of just a true renaissance moment.
So as work-life balance continues, next time the Bills are down south, we need to tee it up.
Yeah, for sure. Love to.
Deal, man.
Yep, thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Yep.